It's a pleasure getting back to work, and the subject that we've been pursuing earlier was English novel, and we were in the middle of it, and then there was this kind of a stoppage. But we resume work today. In fact, it started yesterday with Nupur Chawla's lecture on the hard times, and today we have Dr. Payal Nagpal who will be talking about Lawrence's Tristram Shandy. So we have this difficult text, I would say, and before I request Dr. Payal Nagpal, who teaches English literature in JDM Delhi University, I would like to share, Dr. Nagpal, one impression about this novel. This novel was written in the 18th century, and as we read it, we find it more relevant today. And we feel that this novel is not about the 18th century, it is more about the 21st century. And in fact, it was received well in the 18th century, but then it went into a kind of slumber. And then we woke up in the early 20th century to recognize the existence of this novel. And it's a novel that is a challenge both to the critic and to the general reader. And it plays with language, it says one thing and means another, and lots of other things. On these aspects then we have Dr. Payal Nagpal, and I request her now to please give the lecture.
Thank you, Professor Prakash. And indeed it is really a very nice feeling to be back and to be with our viewers. Today's lecture is on Laurence Sterne, and the novel that we are going to be talking about is The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. So this is the complete title. But before we actually move on to the text, I mean, I think it's important to really respond to what to the point that Professor Prakash has just raised, which is that when we look at a novel like Tristram Shandy, it is true that there is really speaking nothing like this before Tristram Shandy is written, and nothing like this after it either, because I think it's only in the 20th century, really speaking, that the novel form takes on, really speaking, what Sterne starts in Tristram Shandy, towards the end of the 18th century. So, and it is indeed, it seems, I mean, it reads like a modern novel. It doesn't read, like a text that belongs to the 18th century, or that is kind of, it's a genre in the making. So one doesn't get that sense, and it really reads like a modern novel, and a lot of the issues that it raises are issues that are very relevant to the 21st century. And also, I think in terms of, the academic world, a lot of issues that Sterne raises in the novel are issues that I think literary theory responds to in the 20th and late 20th and early 21st century. So, as you can see, portrait of Laurence Sterne. If you look at Laurence Sterne's years, he was born in 1713 and lived on till about 1768, and he was born in Clonmel in Ireland. So we are looking at an Irish writer. And as I said, that the text that he writes, that's The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, is written against a very dismal background, in his personal life, because he had a very troubled marriage, and he was battling tuberculosis. So and of course he belonged to the church. He was ordained as deacon, and he had before this particular text written a satire called The Political Romance. So against it's I really wonder, actually, for a writer who's really placed in such very difficult circumstances in his life, how he really speaking manages to come up with this work. I mean, it's not just a novel, it's something written in 9 volumes, and it's really a wonderful what should I say, contribution to the genre of the novel. So this novel is written from roughly about 1759 to 1764, and one can see in this novel the influence of Rabelais and Cervantes both. These are writers who greatly influenced the style of writing that Laurence Sterne adopts in this novel. So so he begins a work of humor, as I said, that in very very pessimistic times for himself, and he contacted his publisher Dodsley, but he had come out with 2 volumes, but these 2 volumes initially were rejected, and however he managed to bring it out, and he was famous, and it was widely read. And there were, of course, different responses to this novel, and it was so widely read that Sterne himself was compelled to say that I wrote not to be fed but to be famous. So it's an oft-quoted statement of his. So when we look at the whole idea of the novel in the 18th century, I think we just need to kind of go over a few points. The first being that the 18th century in a sense is the beginnings of the novel. Prior to this, the novel as a genre, really speaking, does not exist. The only little fragment we have is Aphra Behn's Oroonoko. So in the 18th century, 1740s onwards, with Henry Fielding writing and calling it a comic epic poem in prose, from Fielding and Samuel Richardson, we move on to this very very key moment in the writing of the novel and in creating the genre of the novel, which is the writing of Tristram Shandy. So we've in a discussion about, say, Henry Fielding's Joseph Andrews, or for that matter Tom Jones, or a discussion of Samuel Richardson's work, we see that the protagonist is an ordinary person, and this, really speaking, fits the times, the kind of changes. This is the period of enlightenment and scientific rationality, of course also empirical method, but these lead to a kind of reorientation of the different social groups that are there. And what we have is, unlike other genres, we have the ordinary person who becomes the protagonist. What is very interesting is, if you just look at the titles of a few novels, for instance, Henry Fielding titles Joseph Andrews really as the history of the adventures of Joseph Andrews and his friend Mr. Abraham Adams. Now, I want to just draw attention to the word history here, and then again the next novel is titled The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling. Richardson's novel is titled Clarissa, or The History of a Young Lady. So the word history is increasingly kind of becoming important, and these are histories of the ordinary people. So but when we look at Tristram Shandy, we are looking at the life and opinions. So history A being interpreted in terms of the life and opinions. So before I actually kind of move on to a discussion of Tristram Shandy, I would request Professor Prakash to please respond to this whole idea of the word history being very very important in terms of the making of the novel.
Dr. Nagpal, it's a very relevant question that the novel is called history, and the other point that you make also should be considered, that this is the history of the common people. There is a common person who is picked up, that person is put in the focus, and then one starts talking about this common person, presenting him or her. And more important than that, so far as this novel is concerned, as you quoted the title, is the opinions of this person.
Yes.
And there is a common person who also holds an opinion. And you are talking about the 18th century, we are talking about the 18th century, and to my mind, I think the writers become conscious of the role of the common people in the 18th century. Because the parliament has started playing a very important role, and there are two parties regularly conflicting, fighting with each other for the interests of the masses, the progressive party and the conservative party. And luckily for us, this novelist belongs to the progressive party at that time. He is a Whig.
Yes, he is a Whig.
And he in fact joined this party, and he started writing pamphlets for this party. So it's very difficult to visualize a person who is from the church, who is giving sermons, also taking interest in politics, and what would he be doing in the sermons? And he is in fact mocking the sermons, the writers of sermons, the people who delivered sermons. He is also mocking them all the time. So I think, so far as I am concerned, I would interpret your question and your statement as a very complex kind of a novel, which is a bridge between as you rightly indicated, between Tom Jones, or the writer of Tom Jones, and Richardson. Because one is talking about the internal landscape, the other is talking about society, and this person is combining both these, and in fact adding very richly to what can be called the genre of English novel at that time. So English novel suddenly grows up in the hands of this person who has to talk about history, who has to talk about psychology, and who has to talk about oneself. So that's how I respond to your question.
Yes, that's so true that, I mean, it's so important to keep in mind that Sterne is a Whig, and he of course writes these pamphlets, and in terms of contributing to the novel, the whole, he's not only just kind of building the whole idea of writing about the times, about the society, about the internal landscape, but this novel is also about the whole process of writing itself. How does one actually look at the task of writing? So Tristram Shandy is also referred to as, it's called, and I'll read this quote from Christopher Rick's introduction to the novel, where he says it's the greatest shaggy dog story in the language. Like all the best shaggy dog stories, it is somewhat bawdy, preposterously comic, brazenly exasperating, and very shrewd in its understanding of human responses. So we have a novel which, I mean, the word story is used, it makes use of the body, it makes use of humor, and of course we know that Sterne himself was he engaged in humor and wit of a certain kind. So and it's an understanding of human responses. So Professor Prakash just raised this point about the whole idea of sermons and the importance of sermons. I'd just like to show you the frontispiece to Tristram Shandy Volume 1, which was done by Hogarth. So if you just take a look at this particular frontispiece, basically it's the sermon that's being read out, and how Dr. Slop is sleeping while the sermon is being read out. Now to look at Sterne, who's actually a part of the church, and he's well aware of what sermons entail, and here the sermon is being read out, and Dr. Slop is merrily sleeping there. So this is the first frontispiece to Tristram Shandy. Corporal Trim is reading out the Sermon of Conscience to Dr. Slop, Uncle Toby, and Walter Shandy, and they're obviously not interested. The second illustration to Tristram Shandy Volume 4 is the baptism of Tristram, and we know that we are talking about a protagonist. If you look at the title of this novel, the title of this novel is Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. The novel begins not from the point of his birth, but the novel begins by a discussion of the begetting of Tristram, and then we don't see the protagonist at all for the next two volumes. So in Volume 4, this is the illustration to Volume 4. It's only in Volume 3 again that Tristram reappears. So the whole idea of the births, that's tackled in Volume 3. So how Sterne of course admired Hogarth, and he said that I would give both my ears, and he writes in brackets, if I was not to lose my credit by it, for no more than 10 strokes of Hogarth's witty chisel, to clap at the front of my next edition of Shandy. And so he was this is how these two one frontispiece and the illustration come about. So Tristram Shandy is considered to be an unfinished, unusual and bizarre work written in the period when the modern novel was beginning to develop and narrative structures appeared in an experimental phase. I'd like to kind of just focus on a few aspects of what really speaking Tristram Shandy is all about. So it is considered to be an unfinished text, because around this time also Sterne dies later. So but it's unusual. It is indeed unusual, because this kind of exploration, a novel that is where there is the title carries the mention of the protagonist, and the protagonist is kind of missing in the text, is very, very significant, and it's of course a deliberately done thing. And Stern is making us kind of think about how we respond to a text like this. And critics have interpreted it as a bizarre work at times for this reason. Written in the period when the modern novel was beginning to develop, and the word modern novel here is not with reference to the 20th century novel. The critics have used this term only in the context of the emergence of the element of modernity and the genre of the novel. So, and narrative structures that are in an experimental phase. So, Stern dealt with absurdities and contradictions of human beings, leveling a pointed charge against the conventions of his time, and which is true. So, reality proceeds according to association of ideas, using digressions and overturning both chronological and cause and effect consistency. So, what this means is that the text is extremely layered, and we look at the text, when we unravel the complexity of this text, we look at it in terms of different levels, really speaking. So, one is the association of ideas, one is the use of digressions, one is looking at the linearity and how that linearity is totally defied. So, where a kind of if one goes back to Joseph Andrews, there is a development of plot, there is there is an episodic development, and there are many digressions. But here they are all kind of weaved into the fabric of the text itself, into the whole process of the writing itself. So, analyzing the text from the point of view of digressions, and to look at this whole idea of cause and effect and the philosophical aspect, is something that is central to Tristram Shandy. So, at the end of the novel, the thematic changes radically, anticipating the inner argument. So, about the life and opinions of the hero, the reader really finds few indications, because the work is unfinished, and Tristram, born halfway through the novel, has just he reached his youth. So, the novel lacks a proper plot, while it abounds in comic personages, infinite digressions, and what the critics have mentioned as typographical freaks and white pages, erasures, a whole chapter made up only of interjections and other bizarre things. So, this kind of really speaking reminds us of what Laurence Sterne himself said in a letter. He wrote a letter to Elizabeth Montagu and said, I am going to write down, I am going down to write a world of nonsense, if possible, like a man of sense. I think that is a very, very important connection that we have here. The connection of, the world of nonsense is not really speaking nonsense, the things that do not make sense. It's the ordered as well as the erratic. And as a man of sense, he is negotiating between these two, ends in a sense, and is looking at the entire social landscape and philosophical currents of the time, right from, Lockean philosophy to Burton and so on, and is trying to understand it from this point of view. So, and he says, there is the rub. Would Apollo or the Fates or anybody else had planted me within a league of Mrs. Montagu, he says. So, in the summer, he says, I could have taken my horse and gone and fetched wit and wisdom as I wanted them. He says, as for nonsense, I am pretty well provided myself, both by nature and travel. So, I think the word travel is quite a giveaway, because Sterne here is talking about travel not only in terms of movement, but in terms of mapping, the social reality or the philosophical reality in terms of the way the observer who travels understands it. So, here again, I'd request Professor Prakash to kind of, just discuss
Nagpal,
this.
I'll take a cue from your description of the novel in terms of the hero appearing on the scene after 2 volumes. And I would say that the writer is problematizing, putting it as a problem to us. When are we born? When is an individual born? And individual is not born the day the child is delivered by the woman, or the child is conceived by the parents. The child is born as a thinking person when one is 20, one is 25. So there is a kind of problematization here. So Tristram Shandy is born when his parents plan him when they plan to have a child, when the child is born actually, when he is only a carrier of the prejudices, the opinions of his father and mother and his neighbors, or he is born when he has started writing. So in fact, he is that way going into the philosophy of an individual life. An individual's personality is shaped by the responses, by the influences of the parents, of the grandparents, of the home, of the surroundings, and then one comes into one's own. So I think there is a rationale behind it, and the problem is taken up by other writers also in future, but he is the person who introduces this very concept of when one is born. For instance, David Copperfield, the first chapter is I am born. Dickens says this. So when he is born, then he doesn't know. He'll come to know it later, and when he will write about it. So I believe that it's a new view of history. It's a view of history where the individual is a product of the circumstance, and the circumstances are protagonists initially, but then the person appears on the scene, and as he pointed out in the initial statement itself, you quoted that, where his parents would have thought twice about giving him birth if they knew that he would write this novel. Just see the humor, and in that humor is contained in fact the mystery of the novel. So you have very rightly pointed out that this person is throwing questions which we have to think much later than the novel is published, and that is a kind of artistic achievement. That's a kind of imaginative leap into the future, and the writer comes into his own only when the person is able to write such a novel. So how do you respond to this?
Yes, so now actually, just to really focus on this first part, this whole idea about, the idea of the beginning, really speaking. So, as you very rightly put it, if we look at the 18th century novel, we are looking at writers kind of looking at it in terms of a history, or we are looking at, what Sterne titles his novel, that is the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy. So it makes it seem as if this is also going to follow what we later understand, in a sense to be the Bildungsroman approach. We map the protagonist's life and we map what the protagonist really speaking thinks. And what we realize here is that the protagonist is really speaking not born. So I completely agree there on that point.
So viewers, we have so far done these points. Dr. Payal Nagpal has put across her point of view regarding the introduction, regarding the way the writer shaped his personality in the novel, and the way he described it, presented it for the benefit of the viewers and the readers. And in the second part, we will be discussing the next few points that Dr. Payal Nagpal will share with us. Thank you.